Obviously, a lot of vintage fragrances have been discontinued, but these ones are still in the running. And I'm gonna pretty much get right into it, but first I gotta mention a significant amount of you are not subscribed to the channel. And if you want to support the channel, it's a good thing to subscribe. So getting into it, I'm gonna start with Shalimar. Shalimar by Guillain came out in 1925, and the thing about this, it is one of the just most luxurious, kind of exotic, smoky fragrances I've come across. And it, I mean, even the bottle, you can get a sense of the bottle here. Very finely crafted, sort of vase structure. The thing about this, first of all, it's very strong, very smoky, kind of resinous. If you've smelled incense, or specifically frankincense incense, this is what that smells like. And it also has some spice notes, some florals, some citrus, and in general, this is just a very smooth, warm scent. I would especially recommend it either for cold weather like autumn or winter, or for evening wear, because it is a very luxurious fragrance that would really be great for the evening, especially because it's a very seductive, heavier sort of fragrance. Then, by the way, I have a new channel called Temps, which is quite a bit different from this channel and is mainly about outdoorsy things like gardening, hiking, traveling, maybe a few recipes here and there. If you're interested in that sort of thing, subscribe. It's a very new channel, and I appreciate the support. I, of course, have to mention the classic of all classics. This is number 5. #1 selling fragrance in the world. So this came out in 1921, only a few years before Shalimar, and it has been popular ever since. It is a floral aldehyde fragrance with some really wonderful base notes. Specifically, it has some sandalwood, amber, oak moss, civet, musk, you know, really warm. So you get these nice florals in the beginning, and then it melts into this very warm kind of mixture. And for those warm notes, this is a pretty long-lasting fragrance. I would say almost as long as Shalimar, maybe an hour less, maybe 7 hours. But again, great evening fragrance, but I would also say this is versatile enough to be used during the daytime as well as the evening, and all parts of the year. You know, summertime, winter, it doesn't really matter. So very versatile option. Then, this one is Youth Dew by Estee Lauder. So this is not quite as popular as the other ones these days, but when it came out in 1953, and for decades since then, it was a very popular option. This is a very spicy, heavy fragrance, kind of similar to Shalimar. Not smoky though, it's more spicy, but it is also very heavy. So the thing about this is that it was specifically created to be a luxurious designer's fragrance for the average woman at the time, you know, suburban wife or mother sort of thing. So luxurious but affordable pretty much was what Estee Lauder was going for with this particular one. And I think it pretty much nailed it, because like I said, it is one of those heavier, very warm, kind of seductive fragrances, and I got this for $30. I don't know if the price has changed since then, but definitely I got my money's worth out of this. Only a few sprays of this, 8 hours longevity. One of the strongest fragrances I've ever come across. So you do have to be careful with this, especially if you have a sensitive nose or you just don't like strong, spicy fragrances, because this is a serious bomb here. Then, one which is one of my personal favorites, I don't have the bottle unfortunately, but it is called Lait de Temps by Nina Ricci, and it is wonderful. It's very similar to number 5. It's a floral aldehyde fragrance and it shares many of the same notes, but it does not have the civet note. It's not quite as musky on the dry down, but it is still very, very warm. It's very kind of like, I always describe it like getting into like a warm bath or like a warm sauna, you know, a very warm, cozy, comforting sort of fragrance. And again, it's one of those fragrances that's good for all occasions, no matter the time, the day, where you are, you know, it's very versatile. Then the last one that I gotta bring out my true vintage Joy bottle from Jean Patou. I've never used this is from the 80s. So I'm mentioning this for last because it is definitely the most luxurious one on the whole list. It was once known as the most expensive perfume in the world. Mainly, okay, so it came out in 1930, which was the Great Depression. And you might be wondering, who would sell the most expensive perfume in the world during the Great Depression? The thing about it is that Jean Patou specifically marketed it to be this kind of like amazing, intangible thing. And of course it's called Joy, so people wanted to buy it in the Great Depression. And people did definitely manage to buy it during that time. And it was extremely popular for a very long time. Throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, you know, a long time. The reason why it was so expensive to make was because of all the notes that went into it. Specifically, they had to crush, I think, more than 10,000 flowers and roses and things like that to get this very specific fragrance that they have. And of course, crushing that many flowers to get the right concentration, the right scent is quite a lot of work. And that work was translated into the price of the fragrance. I don't remember how much exactly it was because, of course, there's a conversion between money then and money today. But per ounce, it was extremely expensive. Like, in today's standards, it would be several $100s per ounce. So definitely something very special. Usually it was reserved for, you know, movie stars, rich people. It was a favorite of Jackie Kennedy and another movie star. I want to say Vivian Leigh. Also quite liked it, but in general, this was one of the most luxurious fragrances you could get in the vintage days. Unfortunately, today it has been discontinued by the Jean Patou brand. That brand doesn't really make their classic perfumes anymore, which is unfortunate. However, the good news is sometimes you can find it still being sold from third-party vendors, so you can still get it. The price does vary though, because sometimes it'll be $30 and sometimes it'll be $600, so you do have to, you know, figure out where you can get it for a reasonable price. But all of those fragrances on my list here, those are pretty much the peak fragrances, you know, throughout their times. And definitely the most luxurious. So, you know, if you're into vintage fragrances, these are really good ones to start with because, I mean, they have been reformulated, unfortunately, so they're not quite true to their original form, unless, of course, you can actually get a vintage bottle. But they are still really, really good and pretty similar to what they used to be. So, there you go. If you like this video, you can leave a like, of course, and subscribe, and you can also leave a comment if you have anything interesting to say about these fragrances. I also make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.